My Ocean Ramsey video got a lot of hate, but it also got a lot of marine biologists and scientists in the comments agreeing with me because, well, we're right. The way she interacts with sharks is not good, and it has a lot to do with their actual biology. Here's why touching, riding, or kind of interacting with sharks in the way she does can actually be very detrimental to their health and the production of their offspring. First things first, sharks produce young in a very high energy way that is different from teleosts or the traditional bony fish you might think of. Sharks produce a low amount of young with a high amount of energy input. This means that while they don't produce as many offspring, their offspring have a higher chance of surviving. Traditional bony fish or teleosts will do something known as batch spawning. They put their gametes, eggs, and sperm into the water column, hope they mix, and while they might produce a lot of young, those young have a lower chance of actually surviving. Sharks will either give live birth, produce eggs, or have eggs in utero, and then those hatch in utero, and then they become live birth, which is known as oviviparity. Now, sharks spend a lot of energy on this, and they might not be able to hunt as much because they're spending more energy, they're tired, they're not as agile, and so if they're being ridden or touched or kind of any of the interactions that she has with sharks, it can actually cause them to do something known as spontaneous abortion, where they will get rid of their offspring in order to conserve energy and make sure that they survive. The other thing is that depending on the species of shark you are interacting with, you have to be very careful of the amount of stress you may induce on that animal, because sharks build up something known as blood lactate. It is a type of lactic acid form, and when it's in the blood, it is usually indicative of stress, and some species cannot metabolize it very well, and it can actually lead to death, especially hours or days after they swim off looking totally fine. A great example is hammerhead sharks. When scientists interact with them, we don't normally pull them onto the boats. We have to be very, very quick with how we deal with them and then get them back out into the water as quickly as possible. This is because when anglers catch them, or people even catch them for scientific research, they build up those stress levels very quickly and they can't handle it properly. So the way she interacts with sharks is not good, and it's more so the fact that people have told her this and she doesn't modify her behavior properly because she values clicks and views and that engagement more so than the actual health of these animals. That really gets marine scientists such as myself or others that are much more experienced and have even better credentials than I very upset. And so if every single scientist and expert and shark researcher is saying the same thing about this person and their behavior and their actions, it probably means that we have a point that isn't out of jealousy or malice, but it's about protecting sharks and thinking about the good of the species as a whole, and kind of calling out someone who sells courses on how to touch sharks and how to interact with sharks and claims they're a scientist when they're not, and all these other things. So this is coming from a place of, I really care about these animals, we all do, and we want to do what's best for them and have people who put out good examples of how to interact with them properly.